Well, good morning, everyone. It's a nice day. We're getting into that time of year where we have cool mornings and warm days. That's nice. Cool enough to need a jacket. Later on, it'll be warm enough to work in short sleeve. Yeah, short sleeve shirts. That's it. So, didn't get any video yesterday. One, every time I come out here to feed her, forgot my phone. And then everything I did was in town yesterday. So, not much farm stuff going on. I mean, excuse me. Really not much going on right now. I mean, we've got to get the rest of the brat pack corralled. We got one of them going to a new home Sunday, if the guy don't back out, which I'm pretty sure he won't. But and then, yeah, we got to get them weaned and get them started growing out. 3 of them are now on the grow out plan, which is good. Anyway, yeah, just the world keeps on being crazy, you know. I don't understand a lot of what's going on. I mean, people in general have fought and worked hard and sacrificed to get out from under a central, all-controlling government, you know, whether it be a dictatorship or a monarchy or whatever. And for some reason, we have forgotten this. And we're not paying attention to what's going on around the world, and we're headed back towards that type of thing for some reason. I don't understand. Just, you know, and I don't understand why there's a certain segment of our society that's just angry, and they don't seem to really know why. They're constantly looking for something to be angry about. I don't understand. I mean, there was a point in my life, you know, my late teens and 20s, where, you know, I was angry more. But what's going on now, and it's people that are older than that. You know, see, back, you know, like I said, you just go read some history, some world history, and, you know, look at what it was like. You don't have to now. Go look at current events. You know, countries that are living under socialist or communist leadership. It's not really leadership. It's, you know, take China. That's a dictator. Now, they got all kinds of propaganda saying that they're for the little guy, but they don't do nothing for the little guy, and the leader gets richer and richer, more and more powerful. Why would we want that? And that's where we're headed. And I listen to these people that, think that the president should be all powerful and should be able to just make things happen with an executive order. And that's not how we're designed. We represent everyone equally, and I'm sure people are going to get all bent out of shape over that statement, but we do, without getting too far into it, there's racism, discrimination. Is there racism and discrimination in this country? You betcha. But it's better. And the people that complain about it the most are pretty bad about it themselves, And they should be saying, I'm instead of saying I'm against racism, they should have say I'm against your type of racism. Mine's okay. So, I don't know, like I said, and these are the same people that think that socialism works. And the problem is they don't consider human nature in all of this. Because there's a group in any society, and you can go check into this. In any society, there's groups of people, and you've got your people that aren't going to work. They're going to, no matter what, goes the school bus, but they're not going to work. They're going to find a way to manipulate the system. And I'm not talking about people who can't work, because most of them would if they could, okay? And we need to take care of those. Okay, had to stop. Tell the number one farmhand bye. So, there's a group that aren't ever going to work, no matter what you do. They're looking for a way to get it for nothing. And this includes, your thieves, your drug dealers, and, and people that just don't want to do anything. And you always have that segment of society. So, but when you go socialism and communism, where the government provides everything, then you get into the next group. And the ones that are willing to work, but they're not interested in bettering themselves to do better. Okay? And they're going to work, and they're going to pretty much pay their way, but they spend most of their time complaining because they're not doing better. But they're not willing to do better. They don't want to do overtime. They don't want to go learn something new. They're the people you hear complaining that oh, I work at McDonald's, they don't pay enough. I need to get $15 an hour to work at McDonald's. But there's a factory job that pays $18 an hour down the road, and they won't go do it. You know. So, but then you got your people that work, they do the overtime, they just can't quite put things together to get ahead, you know. They work the overtime, but they don't manage their money well, and that's the group I have fallen in most of my life. So, and at times I've been in the group before too. I'm trying to move ahead, get better. And then you got a group that, you know, they do well, they're comfortable, and this. And then you got your, you know, your business types, your executives, your politicians, and well, not politicians. Let's not put them in that group. But they live really comfortable. They're taking the vacations out of country, and you know they can afford week-long vacations, and they manage their money well, and you know. And then you got your, let's call them elites, your politicians, your executives. You know, you're way high up there. Your heads of large corporations. Okay, so you bring in socialism, where, you know, everybody is the same. Now your top, your large corporation executives and your politicians, and they're smart, they're intelligent, and they like where they're at. So they're gonna do what they can to stay there. And that leads usually to corruption. But anyway, then you've got the next group down. But, okay, so all the brat pack just got out. Anyway, deal with that later. Anyway, so here comes socialism. Nobody's better. The top is figuring out how they can stay where they're at. You know, they get in with the rule makers. They do what they have to do to keep what they've got. And, you know, if that involves bribing politicians or giving favors to leaders, that's what they're going to do. They're going to find a way, just like they worked and found a way to get wealthy. And I'm not saying that they're criminals to start with, that they got there that way. But they got a certain lifestyle and they like it. And then there's that next group that next group down, you know, your business people, and some of them, well, okay, now let's skip down to the bottom. You know, you got that group that don't work. They're still not going to work, and they've got it better. They have no incentive to work. And then you get into that group that, you know, they work, but they don't want to do anything to get better. They're going to see the bottom group living as good as they are and not doing anything. So there's a huge percentage of them that is going to be, well, they're not working. Why should I? Okay. And then the next group up, there's going to be a large percentage of those that are going to be like, well, I'm out here, I'm working, I'm doing what I need to do to provide for me and mine. And I look over there at my neighbor, he's living just as good and he's not doing nothing. He's at home doing nothing. I would like to have some of that leisure time. Plus, because these other people, they're having to work more, so they start to get out of the system or get on the system, however you want to look at it. They leave their jobs, they go get on the government. Of course, we'll all be working for the government at that point, but they're thinking, well, if I can get the same thing without having to work, that's what I'm going to do. And then along comes, and then it just moves up the chain. And then you get to that next level that's trying to better themselves and, learn new skills and, move up and be a little better, maybe even move up a level in all this. And there's going to be a percentage of them, probably not as big, but they're going to drop out. Say, look, all these people are doing just fine not working. So that's what I'm going to do, And then, the top is figured out. They already know how to manipulate and get around the taxes and, as many regulations as possible. So they're going to be fine. But then you got that working group, the hard workers, and not just physically working hard, but the ones out there, trying to get better. And all the burden of paying for all this is going to fall on them. And their taxes are going up because there's fewer and fewer people paying into taxes. I mean, it's just the way it is. It just, because you can't, the money the government gives you, it's possible to tax it, but that's kind of fruitless. That's a zero return on investment there for the government. Of course, they don't believe in investment anyway. They believe in my theoretical socialist government here. They believe in taking money. They call it taxes, and then anyway, you end up with less tax revenue. They can't do as much. Things don't get fixed. Things just fall into disrepair. Everything. The entire system. And it eventually collapses. I mean, Russia has already collapsed once. In Venezuela, you got people eating out of trash cans. While you got the very wealthy, which that wealth gap is huge. From the normal person to the wealthy is huge. That's a big gap. So, that's how socialism really works. I know on paper it looks good. It looks really good. But think about it. Think about your doctor. If he can't, after he spends 8-10 years of his life going to school and learning his craft, where's the incentive for him to invest all of that time, all of that money, and then he gets paid the same as the guy that picks up his trash? Now, nothing against trash collectors. Important service. But it's not the same as a doctor. I mean, really. Let's be honest. It's important. But the skill set is not equal. And that's what a lot of people are forgetting here when they go talking about socialism and all of that. Is, we're all people and we all have worth. We're all worth something. But our skills is where your pay is based, as it should be. If all you can do is ask, you want fries with that? then they can get a machine to do that. I mean, we've seen it already. You just go up, you push the button, boom, boom, boom. It's all done. And somebody in the back's got to flip the burgers. And I guarantee you, somebody's out there working on a machine to flip the burgers. And I really don't think that's too far away. Because it's all done on, it's pretty much all done on time now anyway. That's why all of your fast food burgers look the same. Because they figured out how long it takes to cook that. Yeah, so, anyway, there's my thoughts for the morning. My thoughts on socialism, communism, and how all that plays out. I mean, I'm a guy that never did real well in school. And mostly because, like my son, I didn't like doing the homework. But like my son, I learned differently. And I learn differently now than I did then. So, that's not a real base. It's not a good measure of intelligence is how well you did in school. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Most of you have probably already dropped out anyway. You know, who wants to see an old gray-faced guy, an old gray beard, discussing socialism? And if you just tuned in and just heard that, I am not for it. I am a capitalist. It's not a fair system, but there is not a fair system. You know, it's based on you working smart and hard. You know, and trust me, I've looked at a lot of easy ways, and they just don't seem to work too well. And you got to work smart. I mean, just because my dad worked hard all of his life, and he did okay. I mean, you know, he always had food on the table. You know, we always had clothes on our backs. Sometimes they were patched. Sometimes they were hand-me-downs. But we always had food. We always had a roof over our head. We always had food for our bellies. But forever, that's where he was at, just providing the basics. Now, you know, we got a few extras once in a while, but he worked hard. I mean, he worked construction, all types of construction. He did asphalt work, he did concrete work, he roofed, he framed houses, you know. He did what it took. So, anyway, I'm really going to stop now. Okay, everybody. Well, I'm back. We had an escape this morning. I think I mentioned that the first part of this video. My fault. Results of procrastination. If I'm not the king of procrastination, I'm pretty pretty well up there in the succession list. Is that the right term? Anyway, we put some food out there for them. Hopefully we can trick them again. Pigs are pretty smart. It might take a few days to get them trapped again. So, all right. I got to thinking, and first part of this video, at first I thought, well, I probably ought to not use that. But then I thought a little more, and then I ran across a video, and I have not checked into this yet. I was going to, got excited about getting out here and making this video. So anyway, I do like to check things out for myself as much as I can. My biggest problem with that is when I think about it, I'm doing something where I can't. Driving down the road, trying to get something else done. So sometimes I don't get things checked out the way I would like for them to be. Now, but anyway, I watched this video, and that's all that jabbered so I could get to this. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? Let's see, I don't think I can raise this up anymore. Maybe a little bit here. Let me try something. No, that ain't gonna work. I can hear somebody now. Why didn't you already have all this taken care of? I answered that question at the start of this segment here. I am part of the royal family of procrastinators. You like that tree? So let's see how that's still not working right. Okay, there we go. My old tripod isn't in too good a shape. Let's see how that looks. Not too bad. I'm a little sideways. I think I can fix that. There we go. Okay, so I watched this video by Doug. I think it's Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, or Doug and Stacy Off Grid. You probably already watch him if you're watching me. And lately he's done a bunch of videos that are pretty informative about some things that's going on with the government. And this one today, I felt I needed to talk about it. Never mind. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is starting something new. I don't really... Oh, excuse me, I just had lunch not long ago. Not really sure what their official goal is with it. Now, they're talking about community gardens. If you've got in a city or town that, there's a community garden, or even if you garden yourself and you want to share it with people, the government wants you to register your community garden with them. They call this program the People's Garden. Okay, right there, just for me, and this is me. Anytime you hear the people's anything, I immediately think communist. China, the People's Republic of China. You know, it's just, I don't know, I can't help it. I come from a time when being communist and socialist was a bad thing, you know, because with just a little bit of studying, you find out why. Because people are people. I mean, the ideas, the theory, is good. We all like that. We'd all like to, make as much money as a doctor or a lawyer, but it's just not. It's not going to happen. Because what usually happens is instead of raising the bottom up, which it does raise the bottom up, but it brings the top down. But the top goes lower than the bottom goes up. That's just the way it works. And then the corruption that I talked about earlier, and the incentivizing laziness. And just speaking from my personal life, I don't need anything else to incentivize my laziness. I have enough of a struggle with it anyway. It's just not a good idea. So anyway, go check that out. Look up The People's Garden on the United States Department of Agriculture's website. And why would they want, really, why would they want to register your garden with the government? Why would they want you to do that? Think about it. I don't know. I've got an idea. We can all see the writing on the wall here, and if you take the time to think about it, everybody should be able to figure it out. Things are going to get tough. And, I personally feel it's intentional, but that's my thought, my theory. Just go look into things. Don't take my word for it. I don't expect, and that's something, anything I tell you, go check it out. I've been wrong enough in my life to know that I get things wrong occasionally. Yeah, probably more than occasionally, but anyway, go check it out. But the question still is, why would they care? Why would you need to register a garden with the federal government, a bureaucratic agency in the federal government? Why? Now I know if there are questions like, well, so people can go and they can find this good quality food, and it will help the people growing it, and it will help the people that need it, and that would be great if that was the end of it. But I don't think it is. And, yes, I am very distrustful of government, whether it be federal government, state government, your county government, parish government, whatever you have, your city government. If you're not a member of that government, be suspicious. We should question authority, always. Now, question authority doesn't always mean fighting authority or resisting authority. Sometimes, that's the right thing to do, but find out their motives behind things, and who does it benefit? And let's deal with the USDA. Who is this really going to benefit? Personally, I think it's a way that at some point they could say, well, wait a minute, these people are growing this food and they're benefiting from it. It needs to be taxed somehow. And we need to make sure that they're growing it in a way that we say they should, so that we can say it's safe. It's regulation. And then, you know, if you want to go down the rabbit trail, it may be so that at some point in time, if there's martial law, they know where to go to destroy the food. I don't know. The last one is definitely out there. So, you know, I don't think that's the deal. But it's just one of those things crossed my mind. Think about it. So, you know, I've been thinking of putting some thought into this video a little bit today. I didn't originally, when I went out this morning and started feeding Skittles, and I'm sitting there and I start talking, this wasn't the video I was planning. I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I got to talking about socialism, communism, and where that actually leads. And I was going to call it, well, before I got done, I think you've seen in there somewhere by the time you get to this point where I said something about the Brat Pack has escaped. So I finished up what I was doing, and sure enough, they'd got out. And pigs that size are hard to get back in. But anyway, so I thought, well, I'm going to call this video Escaped. And so as I'm doing other things and I'm thinking about this, and then I watched that video from Doug and Stacy. And I think about, you know, that's fitting. Because we need to be working on escaping from all this government overreach. You know, this USDA thing right now, it's voluntary. And, you know, if you want to go register your garden with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, a huge branch of the federal government, that's up to you. I mean, really, it's your choice. But I think we need to escape from all this, you know, the government needing to know everything you're doing. You know, it's getting out of hand. To get to the point there, they don't need to know where your garden is and what you're growing in it or anything else. You know, and if you're growing something illegal in it, well, that's their job to go find it. It's, you know, and if that's their deal, then they're just being lazy. I mean, because, I don't know, I'm not a marijuana user, and I believe it's a gateway drug. Not to mention the fact that, you know, I'm already overweight. If I was a pothead, I'd probably weigh 500 pounds. But anyway, marijuana is legal federally. It's illegal. Illegal. Sorry, I misspoke. It is not legal federally. It doesn't matter, you know, about the state. You know, the federal government will come in and shut that down if they decide to. I don't think they're going to, but who is going to? And I know there are people who would, but you know, really, if you're growing marijuana illegally, are you going to go register it on the federal government? Which I don't think that's what this is about. It's just a thought that crossed my head. Sometimes, you know, that's just an insight in the way my mind works. So, go check that out. The People's Garden. I mean, really, just kind of makes me cringe every time I hear it now. I don't know. Just don't know. I've said what I think and what I feel on it. That to me, it sounds communist. You know, anytime you call anything the people's, as I've overstated by this point, So, like I said, go check it out, think about it. You know, it seems our government is all about registering everything anymore. They want our firearms registered. You know, we already got to register our cars. You know, I'm surprised, and I am hesitant to say this out loud, thinking maybe somebody might hear it and think it's a good idea. They're going to register our tractors next. I mean, we just got too much government in our lives. You know, this is the year 2020. We don't need all this now. I mean, even the least educated amongst us should be able to go to the store, go to the local butcher shop and look at a piece of meat and have a pretty good idea whether it's good or not. Look around the building and see if, you know, if it's clean. Because you walk into a building and the front of it's not clean, well, the back probably isn't either where the work's done. So maybe you want to go shop somewhere else. You know, and with this right here, these phones and cameras everywhere, you know, and social media, you can learn a lot about places. People are really good about posting online if some place isn't any good. So I just don't think we need the regulation we got. Not to mention food recalls. Have you ever seen on TV, in the newspaper, on social media, anywhere else, to where they come on there and they say, well, there's been a recall from Farmer Bob's farm. If you bought a cow from him, return it, it's not good. The meat's no good. No. Because, like, take me for example. First of all, I'm taking in healthy pigs to the processor. And if he finds a problem, he's probably going to call me and say, hey, this isn't right. And then I go and I pick up the meat and I'm going to look at it and, you know, I'm going to notice if it's not good. You know. So let's take responsibility for our lives. You know, I don't need the government to tell me what's good and what's bad. You know, I just saw there was a bread recall from some huge manufacturer. There's something wrong with it, and I can't remember the name of it. And I think I saw also, and this is just the last 24 hours, actually less than that. I think it was since this morning when I got up about 6 o'clock. But there's been another meat recall. It wasn't from your local meat processor. Right now, those guys, they're getting hammered so hard by the USDA, they're not going to put out anything bad. I mean, you know, the processor we go to, and we may end up having to change, and I don't want to, but we may have to. But it's questions I've got to ask. They are definitely inspected by the state of Kansas. But I got to find out if they're USDA inspected, because we're looking to moving into retail cuts. But anyway, and now I live in Missouri, they're in Kansas. We're only 8 miles apart. Why does that invisible line matter? And that line's, well, it's like a mile from me. But anyway, why should that matter? I mean, really. It's because the federal government says it does. That's the only reason. There's no other reason. Me going over here and having meat processed at that processor in Kansas And now, the state inspectors, every one of them, every state is required by U.S. Department of Agriculture law to inspect to the standards of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. But once that meat crosses the line, it becomes USDA's territory. Why? Why should 2 miles make a difference? If you're requiring, the federal government's requiring that processor to meet your standards, the state inspectors have to inspect to the federal standards. Why do we need federal inspectors to cross an individual line? Especially when it's the big, huge corporate processors that have all the recalls. Think about it, you know. I heard Joel Salatin. Check him out if you haven't. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he's wrote several books, and he's on a lot of different YouTube channels. You can find him. Having a discussion, he's telling the story of this conversation he had with an inspector. And the inspector's on him because he's processing these chickens outside. Now, Joel Salatin's been at this a long time. He's made a lot of money at it. He's got a lot of customers that sometimes drive a long way to get to his farm to buy his chicken that is processed outside. And he spent his own money to go to some independent lab somewhere, went and bought chicken out of a store, took his chicken processed outside. His chicken had less bacteria on it than the chicken processed at a huge processor and sold in a grocery store. Go look it up. I mean, you know. So, just, of course, if you're all about federal government inspection and thinking it makes it safer, you probably haven't watched this far anyway. It's just crazy. You know, right now I'm selling whole hogs, and here's how it works. I sell a person a pig, and then I deliver it to the processor for them. And then, when the processor has it processed, they call my customer, the owner of the pig, which is my customer. I sold them the pig. They call them, they come pay for the pig, they pick it up. It's called custom exempt. They can process that pig for the owner of the pig, for the owner's personal consumption. They can do that all day long, forever. And the federal government doesn't have to be involved. It doesn't matter where that person lives. Okay? Doesn't matter. If they take it across state lines, it doesn't matter. But if I choose to sell that processed meat by the cut, then the U.S. Department of Agriculture has to get involved. Why? But that's something that's not going to change soon, if it ever changes, which it probably won't, because not enough people care. You know, they just don't care. And the ones that do care have bought into the whole theory that it's safer when a U.S. government inspector looks at it. I don't know that government inspector. I don't know the Kansas state inspector either, or any Missouri state inspector. So I'm just supposed to take on faith that they know better than the people processing it. You know, I don't know, but that's my thoughts. This is a long video, and I'm about to run out of storage space, so I need to get this wrapped up. Yep, and I'm gonna have to go drive the bus this afternoon. So we're just gonna end this here. And this is where all this comes in at, people, right here. Let's look out for each other. Let's help each other when we can. And let's pray. We really need to pray. Catch you later.